Welcome to the ISO Show, dispelling myths and sharing tips for success to improve your business with ISO standards, with your host, Mel Blackmore.
Hi and welcome to the ISO Show. Well, today I'm joined by Jane Duncan, who's the Business Operations Manager at Triaster, which is an organisation that develops business process management software. Hi, Jane.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, thanks very much for coming on to the show. So I understand that you're responsible for your quality and information security management system at Triaster.
That's correct, yeah.
Great. Before we start talking about your experience with ISOs, could you just tell me something that not many people might know about you?
Well, in January this year, we as a family decided to adopt a dog. He was 5 months and he had come from Romania. And he's definitely become my third child. And he's settled in really well. But what not many people know is that in January I started volunteering for the charity we adopted him from. So I liaise between the foster families and any veterinary surgeries if these dogs need any treatment for anything.
Okay, great. And so moving on to Triaster then, could you just share with our listeners a bit of an overview on what the company actually does?
Okay, so Triaster builds software solutions that drive business improvement. We've been a business since 1994 and really do consider ourselves a thought leader sort of focused on business improvement. But over this time, we've developed quite a portfolio of products that solve business problems, and we're continually trying to improve our products and come up with new ones that are going to be helpful.
So let's dive into ISO 27001, because that was a standard that you implemented about a year ago. What was the main driver behind achieving ISO 27001, Jane?
In 2020, we certified for ISO 9001, and we saw that the benefits that were being delivered, and we wanted to extend our certification to 27001 because we saw it as we work in the IT industry. We have a lot of customers who would benefit from knowing that the processes we follow are trusted. We were finding that a lot of our prospects were sort of scrutinising our information security management practices. We did not have an internal authoritative experience around information security. We didn't have any repeatable mechanisms to access the severity of the gaps for the risks we were taking either. So we really needed a framework to step through to improve data security, and we wanted to integrate the 9001 and the 27001 into an integrated management system so that we had it as business as usual. We've been really lucky that as a company, our staff have really adopted the business as usual aspect.
Business as usual in terms of quality and information security?
Yes. So it's always there in the forefront of everyone's minds. We're always thinking about how every day we use the systems and our customer information. So it's always definitely made us think about what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Yeah. Well, I guess internally you've got some experts on processes, as you've got, some business process mapping software involved. So I guess from that side of things, and already having ISO 9001 is obviously a good start. And as a business, you'll understand the benefits of having processes in place. So it's good to hear that ISO 27001 was like a seamless integration into that. So that's good to hear. So how long did it take then from beginning to end to achieve certification?
It was actually really quick. We sort of dove into this feet first, and we started looking at certification bodies probably in March 2021. And towards the end of March, we'd signed up with yourselves, and we had Steve, the lovely Steve, assigned to us, and he was fantastic.
Yeah, Steve's been on a few of our podcasts actually talking about the new version of 27001. He's a regular on the podcast. Yeah.
I'm sure he is. I can totally see him doing that.
Oh, he loves it. Yeah, I could just leave him to it, actually. I don't even need to host it.
By the April, we had started the project with Steve, and over the next 6-month period, we had worked to identify the gaps within our processes, and Steve had helped us and shown us how we could fill them. Because we had such a great relationship with Steve and we really valued all the work that he'd done with us, we decided to commission Steve to attend both of our stage 1 and stage 2 audits, so in September and October respectively. And we were really pleased that we only received 6 major six major? No, no, 6 minor non-conformities.
Oh, phew, you had me worried then.
No, not at all.
Oh, I'd be like, not too sure he should be working for us then. That would be a bit of a surprise. Oh, so you had a few minor non-conformities then.
Yeah, we had 6 minor non-conformities and we had 0 major non-conformities, which was, for our first time, we were thrilled with, absolutely thrilled.
Yeah.
And because Steve walked us through the whole process and it was fantastic. But at the same time, we also recertified against 9001 so we could align the 2 certifications.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. It was so we could have an integrated system rather than a separate business management system.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because it's less costly, but it's less hassle, less maintenance on an ongoing basis, managing that quality and information security management system. So, yeah, good to hear that you did integrate. Some companies still keep them separate, but there's so many benefits of having an integrated system. And so, like you said earlier, I think then it becomes part and parcel of your kind of day-to-day working life then, doesn't it?
Exactly. And as you say, it makes it easy to maintain. It's something that's always being thought about.
Yeah. So going back to when you first started working with Steve, and you would have carried out a gap analysis with him. What would you say was the biggest gap at the time, Jane?
Well, definitely our biggest gaps were the lack of security policies that we had, information security objectives, and most probably our lax approach to identifying and mitigating security risks.
Which is really common for a lot of businesses, actually, that don't have 27001. A lot of businesses just don't have those controls in place.
Yes, and I think it was things that had been thought about but had never really been possibly acted upon. But this was great because doing the gap analysis really did show us where we were missing the policies and the objectives to move forward.
Yeah. So what would you say was the difference then that it made to your business in terms of bridging those gaps?
So we now have in place a quarterly SWOT and PESTLE risk reviews, which are reported on in our management review. The risks identified are then fed into our risk register, and then the high risks become business objectives, which we then tackle over the coming year.
Brilliant, yeah.
So it's given us a lot more focus. We also now have a great system in place to track non-conformities. So security incidents and improvement opportunities, that's something that really wasn't really looked at maybe beforehand, but this has really made us monitor and measure them.
And then has that helped you to communicate more as a team as well?
Massively, definitely. In pre-sales activity, we can now confidently supply our prospects with the fact that we are 27001 compliant, and we can give them our statement of applicability, which gives them all the information that they require. Risk questionnaires are now easily answered due to the fact that we've got great systems in place.
Because they can be quite time consuming, can't they?
They can.
All those tenders and questionnaires, and yeah, a lot of the time now, if you've got 27001, you can just kind of tick that box, can't you?
Exactly. We also use a third-party infrastructure partner. So they are also 27001 certified. But going through this process has also made us make them accountable for the services they're providing for us and our customers, which has again been a huge benefit. And I think finally we are a much better business since the implementation of both the 9001 and 27001. We're definitely continually improving our processes, and we always scrutinise the way we work and evidence our outcomes. So it's made our working practices so much better.
Great. And I know obviously when we started working with you, I think that was during COVID.
That's right.
And now I think, you're mostly working from home, aren't you?
That's correct. Yes. It's definitely what do you do in a lockdown? You take on ISO. It was definitely it was a great project. Yeah. So the fact that we'd all started doing remote working, it was interesting. But from that, it was decided as a business that we worked really well remotely, and so we've now carried on remotely.
Good. And you've still got all the same security controls in place then?
Exactly, because we use our third-party infrastructure partner, that's helped massively, and we can still be as confident with our security that we would have been if we were in an office.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And what would you say has been the main thing that you've learned from this experience of implementing these standards of best practice?
I think that this is definitely a journey. We may have reached 27,001, but it's not an end point. There's always that continual improvement, and I think it's really important to concentrate on that. We anticipate quarter-on-quarter improvements in how we do things so that risks reduce over time. And I think we anticipate a deeper adoption of the 27,001 in our mindsets and business practices as we go on.
Great, so that's good to hear. And so what would you say have been the main benefits overall then?
I think the main benefits are that we hope that our customers can see our efforts and gain confidence from them, and that we are able to grow our business as a consequence. The other main benefits maybe is that we can honestly say we have processes in place to continually improve what we do.
Yeah, because sometimes if people put them down on tenders that, we're working towards this, or, but they don't actually have that in place. And a lot of companies get away with that for a few years until it kind of comes back to bite them when they win that contract and the client actually wants to see the documentation. And it's a case of like, okay, well, what should we be providing now? Okay. And finally, what top tip would you give to somebody then, Jane, if they were looking to implement an ISO standard?
Definitely document what you do as a business and then look for your gaps. So your gap analysis is so hugely important, and we learnt that very early on with Steve's help. And also, I think recognising that it is a continual journey and that certification doesn't mean you should stop improving your processes.
Yeah, it's a great tip there. And if you were to gift a book to somebody, it might be a book in relation to standards or not. Is there anything that you would recommend?
Well, when we first started this ISO journey, I had no previous experience of anything like this. So I was really eager to learn about audits and internal auditing, as these were new processes that we were starting to carry out. So a book that I found really easy to understand, and it covered the basics of the auditing process, and it explained everything from setting up a successful audit program to how to select and train auditors. It was called Internal Auditing in Plain English, a simple guide to super effective ISO audits by Craig Cochrane.
Okay.
And it's not a complicated book, it's just a little book, and it's just written in an easy to understand language.
In plain English. Just what it says on the tin.
Exactly, as it says on the cover in plain English.
Okay, great. And if you could leave our listeners with a quote as we're wrapping up now, what's your favourite quote that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
My favourite quote, and I don't know who said this quote, but it's one that I use quite a lot at home with my children, and I was bought it as a poster, and I've got it on my office wall, is that no one is you and that is your superpower. I love this quote because no one is you are your own self.
I love it. It's really unique, isn't it? So no one is you and that is your superpower. Yeah. Well, that's right. Everybody's totally unique, aren't they?
Exactly. So it doesn't matter what's happening, just be yourself.
Exactly. I love that. That's great. Oh, that's all we've got time for now, Jane. Thank you so much for your time and sharing with me a bit about your experience of your journey with ISO 27001 and sharing some of the gaps that you had in the business and you know, how you've overcome those and the system that you got in place now, which is helping, you know, Triaster to be even more successful than it was back in 2021. So yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Great. So yeah, thanks very much once again for joining us on the ISO show today. And I look forward to catching up with you on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Looking to use ISO standards to drive better business practice? Contact us at blackmoresuk.com to access further information and book your free 15-minute call.